Okay. Hi, I'm Preet Gill. I'm the Labour MP for Birmingham Edgbaston. I am also the Shadow Minister for International Development. I've always been interested in politics. Actually, I worked in the public sector. I was a children's services manager for 17 years, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I've been a non-exec director for Spring Housing that's been involved in the Syrian resettlement programme, as well as providing social housing and support for adults. I became a councillor in 2012 in Sandwell, and I became the Cabinet Member for Public Health and Protection. And that really gave me a lot of insight into local government. One of the biggest sources of support that I had when I became a councillor was probably from the Local Government Association. They provided lots of leadership programmes which were really, really helpful in enhancing the opportunity to carry out the role as a councillor effectively, but also to build support and networks much wider outside of the council and share some really good practices and learning from other people, which was really key. And also making friendships with people that you could share ideas and talk through local government concerns and issues. I was really honoured last year to be on the Jo Cox Women in Leadership programme, and that's run by the Labour Women's Network. And that was a fantastic programme. I was one of 57 women. We've maintained in touch actually, and we have a WhatsApp group where we provide lots of our rich stories about our experiences, but also ideas and knowledge and information to each other, and we're very keen to support, help one another in terms of our career pathways into politics, whatever they may be. So when I was on the Women in Leadership program, I had the opportunity to share Jess Phillips. I remember sitting in Jess's office in March 2017, and I was talking to her about the seat that I've now been selected as the MP for. And I think it's really important that if you are considering becoming an MP, that you do have the opportunity to shadow and really understand what happens in an MP's office and actually what the work of a Member of Parliament entails. Because actually when you finally become elected, it's quite a shocking experience in terms of what you have to do. So when the announcement was made in terms of, we're having an election and what that meant, I knew I was going to submit my application. So the Labour Party Members Net, you'd have to go in and complete a form. It's very, very specific. It's limited to word count, so I would stick to the word count. Be very succinct in your answers and what you're trying to convey as to why it is that you should be the representative of the area you chose. My backstory was quite good, I think, in terms of it's a constituency where I grew up and I was raised, born. I went to school there. My father drove the number 11 bus. My family still lived there, so actually knowing your constituency, knowing the issues that really mattered, especially in a very short period of an election campaign, was really important. And I think, I remember when I'd finally got, I went to the interview in London for the post, and then I was told that evening, so this was Thursday night, I was told that I had won the selection. And Saturday morning, I remember going out to the high street to meet members, and that was it. That was the launch of your campaign, effectively. I remember sitting down with the CLP, and that's really important, knowing who your CLP is, especially in a constituency where you've not previously been campaigning or you may not be aware of them. This was a great constituency in that its data recording of constituents was excellent. And so for me, one of the key things was sitting down with them and really putting together a strategic plan. I think a lot of them were really deflated during when the election campaign had been announced, because we'd had the referendum the year before, and actually people very much exhausted. And actually that's where you realise that leadership is really, really key in terms of becoming a Member of Parliament. And I remember that I brought in my friends who worked for finance companies, who were head of Accenture, who had a real good skill set in terms of consultancy and strategy. And what we did is we very quickly devised our strategy for the whole campaign. And we did a data analysis telling us about previous elections and knowing where our threats and our risks were, because in a 6-week campaign you cannot knock every door. You absolutely got to be strategic, and you've got to be clear about what it is that's going to make you win that seat. And you know, it was really interesting. I had lots of journalists interested in this seat, and I remember everyone coming and telling me that this seat was going to become Tory. And you will get a lot of that, but it was the self-belief. I knew I was going to win this seat, and you've got to absolutely believe that you're going to win this seat, because you've got to mobilise support. You've got to make sure volunteers come out, make sure volunteers believe in you, your message, and absolutely creating an energy around your campaign is really crucial. And I think we were able to do that effectively, because there was so much passion and interest, and actually it was a really exciting time during the election. Lots of really good announcements being made. Theresa May not doing so well, and obviously you know, Labour policies and announcements were fantastic. Lots of young people invigorated. And it's about utilising some of the resources within your constituency. So I'm very lucky to have the University of Birmingham, so I was able to reach out to lots of Labour students as well, and get them on board. But I think it's really important as well, being a councillor in Southwell, I was able to reach out to lots of other CLPs and sort of get them to come on board and actually support us, given this was seen as a marginal seat. And I think that's really important, to be able to do that in the region where you are, is build those links across your other CLP groups. In terms of support you need, I mean, it's interesting. For the election rounds, I had planned to stand in 2020, so I thought I had actually quite sufficient enough time to think about actually what sort of things I'd want to do and how I'd be able to get support. But in some ways, it's quite interesting that, you know, you get an announcement, you don't really have all of that time to plan. You're thrust into that position, and I think I deal quite well with situations like that. But you do need a lot of support, and mobilising support, knowing what support you need, where the gaps are, is key. So for me, it was bringing in all my family, all my friends, everybody that I knew. You know, sort of making sure that they were on hand, that I had a strategy, that I had people in charge of that strategy that I was able to rely on. I was able to delegate tasks down to. And again, finances, you know, that's really important, because you do need money. Your CLP sometimes may be prepared or may not be prepared for an election. So you've got to be able to bring in some other finances, so crowdfunding, getting in donors, you know, talking to your CLP, and being quite creative in your campaign. There were some things that I was really clear about, and I think as a candidate, you need to be clear about your campaign. I knew that I wanted a social media presence, and I knew the importance of that, and I knew I wanted to do some videos, and actually I wanted some billboards. Even though the CLP was telling me I didn't have enough money, I was quite clear that I was not going to compromise on those things. And it's important. You'd have to give and take. You've got to be clear about, well, actually, what is it that you will save in terms of money, and what bits you actually want to make sure you spend money on. And so the last 4 days, in the busiest part of my constituency, I had billboards on a roll every a minute or so, just because it was reminding people about when the election was going to happen, and making sure that that marketing strategy actually worked. And I think you can be really creative about your own campaign. So building my team, it was interesting that initially the RP had a strategy that was about very centrally controlled. So it was about, we've got wards, and what they were thinking of doing was just doing door knocking, moving around wards. I changed that very quickly. I was very clear that I wanted a forward strategy. Every ward needed to have a campaign-specific plan, and having people responsible for those were really key. So I was able to very quickly identify who those people were going to be in those wards, and help them build a grid and a plan of activity to ring members, to sort of get them really involved. We have quite a good number of members in this constituency, about 900, and it was clear that some of them were really great in terms of coming out door knocking, but actually everybody will have a different skill set, and it's about making sure that those that want to do phone bank, that you're able to give something to most people that want to do various things. And the thing is, your presence is really important. You've got to be the leader of your campaign. So I was out every single day for 6 weeks, from 10 till 9 p.m. I think that was really, really important. It was important for me because I had to give I wanted to know that I gave everything to this campaign, and I put my heart and soul in it. And that meant I didn't see my children, and I wasn't able to put them to bed at night. And that was the kind of compromise. And my husband was very, very supportive, because he was able to care for them, and I didn't have to worry about that element of it, because that is that could become a very major worry for you. But being out with the troops is so important, because your presence makes a huge difference, and it mobilizes a lot of support. So that was really, really important to me. Tips on how you would widen your circle of support. I think, don't underestimate the level of support that's out there for you. And you'll be amazed how many people that you bring along, and how many people they then bring along with you, because they start talking about the campaign and the energy in the campaign and what that creates. And actually, we found that throughout the whole campaign, is that there was just this tremendous amount of buzz and goodwill, and so many people came out, people that you didn't even invite, and so you'll be quite surprised. I think if you stay focused, if you have a clear plan, if you have a strategy, and you know how to communicate that down. And that's another thing we did, is we got our core team, which was the ward organisers, our members that came out regularly, and we were able to share with them the strategy and the plan, because people need to know, why is it that you're focusing your resources in a particular ward, for example, as opposed to another ward? Why are you doing certain messages? I mean, the Tories had a very national campaign and kept everything national. I kept everything very local and very specific, so that people could relate to the issues that really matter to them. And I think people on the doorstep really appreciated that I knew the constituency, I knew what the issues were. And I think a lot of the time I spent on the doors as well was listening, because I think that's really important. Don't assume that you know what the issues are and that you're going to set those issues by yourself and your team. It was really important very early on for me to be asking people what their concerns were, and getting volunteers to do that, because actually you've got a better sense of what the key issues were. Your messaging is really, really key, your language. I mean, I was very involved in my campaign leaflets. I checked everything, in terms of the wording. I wanted it to be absolutely clear. Very often we read leaflets which are very waffly and say very little. And I think you want to be able to reach out, because people don't know you. That's the other thing here. It was how is it that we could make the biggest impact in 6 weeks and get some recognition? So I decided that I was going to have the Cortex board with my face on them and my name in big. So the signs that you have outside your house when you're selling your house, for example, and we had those across the constituency. So face recognition became very important, and the name recognition. And actually, I remember knocking on certain doors, and Tory doors, and actually they said, "Oh, I know who you are, and I recognise you," and that's a good thing, because that means your plan and your strategy is absolutely working. So there's some real key things that you can do in terms of a short campaign, which is, but you can actually use these for a longer campaign as well. I mean, in terms of barriers, I mean, there will be times where you really do get sort of disheartened. I remember, there were times on the campaign when you're ringing people, and actually people for lots of different reasons are saying why they can't vote for you, or they can't vote for your party. You'll face so many things. You've got to really be prepared and know what your answers are. And I think that's really important. You've got to have a view on most things, because people will ask you anything. And your party, whichever party you stand for, will provide you briefings on, your policy issues around whether it's health, policing, etc. But also you've got to have your own views written out and thought through about the things that really matter to you, and how you would answer some very difficult questions, because you will get a lot of those, and I certainly did get a lot of those. And when you do get disheartened, you just build your, I just used to look at the strategy. So the strategy that we had it on a whole wall. So basically everybody could see it, whether you liked it or not, it was there and you were looking at it. And so actually over the period of time, people totally got what the strategy was. The amount of contacts we were able to make. One of the things that I did, I got lots of requests for hustings, and I was clear that I was only going to do the hustings that I thought were really important. I think that's really important. My main aim was to be on the phones and try to make as many contacts and speak to as many people as I possibly could, and go out and meet certain community groups that were very prominent in the constituencies, that were doing lots of campaigning. That's the other thing, is I suppose, is reaching out and knowing what groups are active, and how they align with the things that your values and the things that you want to do, and reaching out to them is really important. I did quite a bit of that, and obviously you would do the same campaigning around making sure you go to school gates. The school cuts campaign was huge at the time, and it's about making sure you use the resources that are already there. And make it very specific to your constituency. Yeah, so that was really able to do. So it was a great campaign, and we made history. I became the first female MP in this country, which was just phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, and I just didn't realise the impact it had, because I had phone calls from India, from Canada, Australia, from New Zealand, you name it. People were just amazed. Actually, lots of people were surprised that Britain didn't have a female MP, especially after Sophia Duleep-Singh, a prominent suffragette who fought for the right for women to vote in this country. You know, it was definitely something to celebrate, and I'm really proud of the Labour Party for making sure diversity, you know, was really a key thing for them around, not just for BME representation, but women with disabilities, but women as well. 45% of the Labour Party is women, and that is something to definitely celebrate. But I think also that Parliament being so diverse and it's starting to reflect the people it serves is phenomenal to be part of the new intake of 2017. And there's been an immense amount of support, you know, lots of great experience that they have, and it's been brilliant. I have to say, my experience so when you become selected for your seat and you're in London the following week, you kind of think you're going to get lots of support and someone's going to help you and, you know, show you the ropes and tell you how to set everything up, and actually you realise that leadership is the one thing I would say throughout this is absolutely key. Don't rely on anybody else but yourself, because that's exactly what being a member of Parliament is. And you have to pretty much get to terms very quickly, get to grips with how you're going to set up your office, employ your staff, your systems, what sort of things are important to you. And a lot of that is by trial and error. Some of it you won't get it right completely. It's, you know, here we are in sort of April, and I'm still tweaking the office, and still, because you're getting to understand your constituency and the flow of work that comes through and the things that matter to them, but also what kind of gaps you've got in your office as well around skills, and things like that. So you know, it's important not to feel so pressurized and talk to other people, and I certainly did that when I felt pressurized. And a lot of the MPs were saying, look, don't worry, it does take time, but you do worry because you feel that constituents are emailing you and you need to respond, otherwise they're going to think that you're not doing what you should be doing. And it's a full-time role. It's so difficult to switch off as an MP, as much as you try to be disciplined. It is so difficult because, you know, you feel that sense of responsibility and you really care about the teams that are working with you, working for you, and working for the people that we represent. I feel that's really important, and you've got to care about that. You've got to care about people, because actually this is what this job entails, is meeting a lot of people and hearing a lot of their issues and being able to address those locally and nationally, and being a strong voice in constituency, and lots of public speaking. Get used to the fact that you can, you know, turn up somewhere you never expected to talk, and suddenly somebody's handed you over to a mic to say a few words. So, you know, always be prepared, and that's one of the things that, you know, takes some getting used to sometimes. But yeah, it comes with time, and obviously all the media interest. You know, you can't escape that.